Start by acknowledging that we're on the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people who have walked this land since time immemorial. We are grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty 8. And moving on then to adoption of the agenda. Any additions or changes to the agenda?
Your worship, just one quick correction there under item 17. It says confidential items, personnel, it should be personnel and contracts.
And contracts, okay.
Recorded that way.
All right, nothing else? Get a motion with that one change?
As amended.
All right, all in favor? Carried. We don't have any scheduled delegations, but do we have public delegations? Oh, all right, okay, come on up.
Sharon Cox.
Do you want to just get your mic, Sharon, just so that, thank you.
Sharon Cox. And this isn't about the big issue. This is about, I had the opportunity last week to talk to the mayor after the presentations of the volunteer awards in regards to what I'm hearing out there and what I personally feel too. In regards to that maybe we need to look at an organizational review. And when I talked to the mayor about that, he was receptive to listening to me, but then he said that, well, we did that in the Johns Rood report, and that was about 10 years ago. But that's a different report. That was an administrative report that was went through as to how administration pointing out the errors and things like that. So it wasn't an organizational review or report. What the organizational review would look at is the different departments and how they're organized, how the workload is of each position, and then look at for maximum efficiencies. So that's what I think we need to really spend maybe our dollars on, and according to the mayor, it is substantial dollars, anywhere's, for he said 40,000, now how we come up with that I don't know. But I think that, excuse me, I'm nervous. I think that's something that's very important. And when hiring of the CEO's position, the suggestion from myself and some of the community citizens is to have a member from the town that has had a business that is hired at a management level, positions at a management level, to sit on that recruiting committee. I think that would, by doing this, it would add credibility to the process in light of what recently has transpired. And in the past when we've done hiring too. So I think that's something that should be considered when we talk about transparency. And the other thing, grass cutting. I'd mentioned that to the mayor and the CEO who was there. The Mohawk station on our side of the town is still not mowed, and we've got a rodeo coming and it's a mess yet. And also the thistles are growing on our side of the town by Richards Lumber. We had a problem with that last year, and the Richards family came and did the spraying and did the cleanup, but now it's our part to clean up. And I do find it surprising that our staff drive by there all the time, and yet nobody brings it to the attention of the town to get the job done and how it looks. This is part of our pride of our town, is keeping these things neat and clean. Compliments on many positive things like the flowers and the flower beds and how they've kept, but there's more for us to do as a town, as citizens, and we need to bring that to the attention of our town management to keep staff, I guess, aware and vigilant and looking out to see what needs to be done, and then get the cutters out there and whipper snip and do that kind of work. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sharon. All right, was there anybody else that would like to address council? Barry, come on up.
Hello. Something has bothered me so much. The last time when I asked about how the CO was hired. And it's, the way it was done, absolutely off the books. He was hired by Brian Matheson, the acting CO before. The gentleman, the one he was hired, he didn't come in front of council, sat and discuss if they should hire him, if they have a resume of his, did he apply for the job, and none of that. And when he answered me the question, he said between the rate of 100 and some to 140 some. I think we have the right to know how much his wages and his expense a month. And we like to know how much, if you guys made agreement with Sherry Bull, and how much she received, and how much the lawyers cost us as taxpayers in our community in here. And now I'd like to know who's second. You guys, I'm sure you did interview a few people. Usually you have A and a B. So the A is gone. Well, who's next? What are we gonna do? What's the B? And I really like to get answers, not just listening and hearing.
I can address one. I know we did check with, and it is allowable to give out the wage of the CAO. So that is something that we can get for you.
Well, right here, we could, so the public would know.
Well, I don't know the exact answer to it right now. I know roughly, I think it was 130 something.
Somewhere in that range.
130 or
132.
132. So that's within a couple of $1,000 one way or another.
We don't have the salary grids here, Travis.
Yeah. And there's steps on it as you go up. And that was, so it was in that range, within a couple of thousand.
And the situation he was hired, I know you told me, but I wasn't happy about the answer. You know, would it have been nice if the counselor sat with him, introduced to him, and go from there? How we could hire somebody, you know, he was in here before and he was gone before. Well, maybe the new counselor, they should know who he is and when he was in High Prairie and how long ago and stuff like that. That's the process to go. Like, we went from one process, hiring somebody, which, like I told you, Mr. Mayor, I told you, if one of your sailors, you're the captain of the ship, one of your sailors come and say to you, there's a hole in the ship, would you sail from the harbor? You told me no. But one of your sailors came and told you from your counselor and said, there is something wrong in here. But as you, Mr. Mayor, James, John, and Teresa, you guys went and hired the CO. And later on, because you got some emails and stuff like that, and all of a sudden, a meeting was called, and that meeting, oh, we don't want to hire her now. So what kind of process we having in here? How we could trust this council now for our community? We're gonna live with you guys for another 3 years. How are we gonna do it? It's gonna be tough on us. Really, you know, this is, like, I thought about it. I tried to work with you, nothing happening. I really thought about it and I said, you know, this is it. Do the town a favor. Resign, you guys. The one who did. And Herb, don't give that smile, please, because I'm a citizen and I'm a taxpayer. I have the right to talk in here. Don't make fun what I'm saying. I saw that smile.
That's fine.
I lead lots of meetings. I chair lots of boards. I know when I see somebody in front of me and they have that smirk, do not. I'm here as a taxpayer with children in this town. I want to make sure my town is good. My town is looked after properly. The other day, the grass was across the street. A citizen, a taxpayer, she told you, you standing in there. The same day, you should have got the town crew on that to cut the grass. But no, the grass still is there. So would that tell us who you are in here? For us or for those? You are for the town. Like if you look at municipal affair, what they say, that the people, the citizen, the CEO, the mayor. That's how it is. Look at it, it's in a white book. That's what it is. You're serving us. You're not serving those. You're serving the local people, the taxpayer. And that's what I want to say. So please, you guys do something about it. I really like to see answers. I want to know what happened. I don't want to sit in front of people and not answering me. James, you're quiet. Why not saying anything?
You weren't done speaking, Barry.
Well, I'm done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, the CAO's salary has been disclosed, right, within a couple of $1,000 for a year, right? What did we say, 130, 133?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Like, I don't have the grid in front of me, Barry, I'm sorry, I don't, okay, but that's pretty close in the ballpark, right? Like, that's not quite a home run, but it's a triple, okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're right there.
Yeah,
We'll get you the exact number. You know, we just, we don't have it in front of us. As far as the hiring process with, having Herman in as an interim, Herman had expressed an interest in the position previously. And you know as well as we do that you have to have a CAO, it's required by law. And we were in a pinch and we needed somebody, and Herman lives in town and is willing to do the job. So when we were told that he would do the job, council said, okay, we'll have Herman as our intern CAO and we'll start the process again for hiring a permanent CAO. As far as the grass over at Mohawk goes, I'm assuming that's the grass you were talking about there. You know what, yeah, that pisses me off too. The grass in front of the old hospital pisses me off as well. But, God, and I hate this, we can't just go and cut the grass. We could, but then we can't just charge Mohawk, or whoever owns that property, we'll say Mohawk for argument's sake. We can't just charge them back for it because you have to give them, I think it's written notice, and then they have so many days to comply, and then I think they get notice again to have, it's like, okay, we're gonna go in and we're gonna cut it on this day, and then we can go in and cut it on that day if it hasn't already been done. If we just go in and cut it, that's a donation from the town. I know what you're saying, and Sharon, you're right too, that grass has gotta be cut.
I'll go cut it, and I won't charge the town. Don't be using excuses, please.
I'm not using excuses, I'm saying that this is the process. Like, we've got to follow the rules, right, when it comes to these things. If we cut that grass, it's a donation from the town, if we don't follow
Perfect what you just said, James.
Okay,
Follow the rules.
right,
Did you follow the rules with the CEO?
yes.
Gotcha. What do you have to say on that one? As the rules was followed to hire the CEO
As an interim CAO,
as an interim CEO.
yeah, there isn't a rule that you have to interview to hire an interim CAO.
Well,
Can't
it
be
seemed to
appointed.
be everything okay in high grading, so how is that? You know, like,
Okay, we've got a couple of, go ahead.
I'll just make one quick point with regards to the unsightly properties, and that's where these properties in the weeds and that. We did ask our bylaws to go out, he did go out, he communicated with the owners and sent communications to them, and they're in the process of either following what they've been asked to do, or then if they don't follow it, then we will send somebody in, and then we will charge for it. But we can't just go into somebody else's property without.
Okay. Teresa, what do you think of hiring the interim CEO without putting him to the meeting, to you guys?
One thing I do know is we were really cut for time. I know that for sure. We were down to the wire, and as far as my experience and that I know and how the process works is that we can't be without one. So that was my understanding, is we didn't have many options at the time to be able to pull from. So, like I say, my understanding is that we had one option, that somebody was able to do that. And everybody around the table here, I think, seen it pretty much the same way as I did, is that we didn't really have too much choice in the matter.
Donna?
On short notice, sorry.
Well, as Councillor Tishman had said, we were down, Brian, CAO Martinson, unfortunately couldn't continue doing that position. And Herman, I believe, had offered that service to us if need be. And at the time, we were faced with the crunch deadline time, and council discussed that. It wasn't a unanimous vote to go with Herman, but it was a majority, and Herman is right now the interim CAO until we continue the process going forward to get a permanent CAO.
Sasha?
Ouch. So Barry, what is the question? It wasn't unanimous.
Were you part of hiring the CEO? When the CEO, the acting CEO came to the room, sat with all of you guys and say, okay, my name is Herman, and I'm supposed to be, and Brian Matheson, the acting CEO before, he said, this is the guy we're gonna hire. Did that happen?
The reason I voted no was because I had never met the man, and it wasn't council that directed administration to go look for an interim CAO. I'm not sure where the direction came from. Maybe it was Martinson, maybe it was the mayor and Martinson. Council was not involved in that process. I agree that there was a timeline issue, but there's nothing that stops us from not having an interim CAO for, you know, for 5 days we could have appointed someone. I mean, there wasn't, in my mind, people take vacations. You know, there's people that have out of office responses that say, I'm out of the office for a week. There were three reasons I voted no for Mr. Minderline. We had an internal candidate that expressed interest. The cost was number 2, process not being followed was number 3, and my largest reason was that I'd never met the man. So I'd never seen a resume, I'd never met the man, I didn't know who we were hiring. We are expected to put in even interim. I mean, the last interim CAO did performance reviews, which we didn't even know about. So, you know, there's a lot of power that comes with the position, even interim, and having never met the man, no, I voted no.
John?
We follow the process, Larry. And if you want to go to municipalities to find out what steps we took, because that's who guided us in this process. So that's, you know, people don't always like what the outcomes are, but we follow the process. We, and I was one that voted for that very fact. That, and aside from Councillor Martin saying that we hadn't seen a resume, he applied twice. We saw his resume. So I need you to know, there was thought in this. We consulted with people in this. There was a process, and it took place. And you know, Barry, from our other that I do together. I'm all about process. That happened.
So Barry, we're running out of time again, and, you know, I thought we were working together, or trying to work together. You made a comment that we're not working together, so I'm not sure where we get there, but hopefully we can get on. You had suggested a project, and we'd like to, maybe we can keep working on that. But,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Hi, Michelle Strickcheck. I apologize for my attire, but I shut down Hain to be here. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you to the councillors who reversed their decision with the hiring of Sherry Poole. I know that wasn't an easy decision, and I know that that required some humility and some probably struggle in making that decision, but I appreciate that the townspeople were heard. There had been a petition that had circulated that had more than 10% of the population of the town who had signed, and it's my understanding that that did not have to be submitted for that decision to be reversed. So I do want to say thank you to you guys for that, because that shows a lot of courage to have the ability to reverse a decision that you did hear the townspeople on. Second, I don't know what the process was, so with the canceling of that contract, one of the questions that Barry had asked that was not answered was how much was the severance, was there severance paid out, and how much was that severance, and what were the legal costs that were associated with that?
I can say I don't know what the, I don't know what the legal costs were. And there was a payout, I don't know, I can't tell you the exact amount. But there was, because she was on a contract, and based on legal advice, we did have, well, it wasn't necessarily severance, but it was notice paid of not being hired.
Okay, so prior to that decision being made, my understanding was part of the reason for wanting to give a severance to her was because of the financial ramifications for her losing this position. When I called Mayerthorpe the day that she was supposed to be starting in High Prairie, she was still actively employed as the economic development officer there. And when I spoke to the CAO there, I said, were you aware that Sherry Poole has been hired as the CAO in High Prairie? And her response was, well, I am now, which tells me that she had not given notice in Mayerthorpe. And in my perspective as a business owner, I do not understand why a severance would be required when, if you look at the criminal definition of fraud, the criminal definition of fraud, and I did speak to a lawyer about this, the criminal definition of fraud is when you give a misrepresentation or faulty information for financial gain. So legally, she could have been charged with fraud for the misrepresentations that she did have. So I understand this decision has been made. I understand it's probably binding. I understand that there is liability insurance for directors or board members or council members to not be financially responsible themselves for the decisions that are made. However, moving forward, I would suggest looking at new legal counsel if they don't know what criminal fraud is. Or were they not given all of the information is question 2.
I can just say that, you know, we did work with our legal counsel to make sure everything was done properly and to make sure that the town was safe and clear too. So and there was some other situations that I can't really speak about, but there was other issues, and the lawyers knew all of the story, and that was the advice that they gave us, and we followed it too.
So will those numbers be released for the amount of severance paid?
You know what, we can look and make sure we're not violating any FOIP, and if we're not, then we will release them.
Okay. Question regarding the hiring of Herman. Herman, had you applied in the first round of applications for this latest posting of the CAO?
Yeah.
Had Herman been shortlisted?
That's private, confidential. All of the stuff that happens in the hiring process is not open. and it is fault. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have one concern, because Herman was in the meeting on, I believe it was June 28th when we met. He was sitting here as a delegate, which suggests to me that he was probably already in the wings as a potential replacement for Sherry. And that's concerning, if all of the processes weren't necessarily followed. So I understand, John, that you're saying that they were, but a normal process is if there's a short list, so if you did a round of applications and you have a short list, and you offer the application, you offer the job to the person A, and they then decline. A normal process is then you go to person B or person C, not restarting the whole process. So I'm not sure if that's different for town council, and I'm not sure what the circumstances behind that were. But I can look into municipal affairs regarding that, so. But my primary purpose for being here is to thank you guys for reversing the decision. Again, I know that wasn't an easy decision. And to thank you for listening to the townspeople.
thank you.
Good job, Michelle.
All right, anybody else want to address council? No? All right, thanks for that, and with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is protective services, with our peace officers report. Can I get a motion on this one?
I'll move that council receive senior police officers June 22 report for information.
All right, thank you for that, and with that, I'll turn it over. Go ahead, Mr. Blue.
Good evening, council. I'll start with the unsightly stuff here.
Very timely.
We sent out 28 notices, letters, and door knockers. To date, we've had 100% compliance. The three properties that have been up in question tonight are the Mohawk, Richards Lumber, well, the hospital, actually it was four, but, and the old Job Corps site. Notices were sent out. We did the process, there is the process, we gave them a week. This week is the deadline. We have contractors on standby. Job Corps building is done today. The owner did that today. The hospital will be done within the next day or two. Mohawk and Richards Lumber, I think they're due on the 27th or 28th. I've checked the letter. But those will also be, if they're not completed by the property owner, will be done by contractor.
Okay, that's perfect, and so it'll be done before the
rodeo.
The rodeo, perfect, thank you.
Just another couple highlights. We've been issuing ban notices on town properties and local businesses. We're noticing a few homeless people that are causing issues, harassing customers and stuff, so that's what the business is phoned us to. First we go there, we ask them to leave. We ask them not to solicit or loiter or harass. The next process is a ban notice. So other than that, open to any questions council may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Wakehold and Councillor Daneka.
Just one element, I see the hours for June on patrol have gone up 150, that's because Erica's back?
That's correct, yep.
Okay, because I was worried about your sleep.
Thank you.
And the increase in the admin hours, again, that's because Erica's back?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
you were gone on holidays the last council meeting,
Yes.
and I did bring up the Mohawk, the Richards Lumber, and the Thistle Field in Cornerstone, which I see that's been done, thank you. My question, and this is a recurring one, what is going on, because I had asked Herman if he knew what was happening over with the Prairie Group and whatever it is that they're doing over there, and the increase in the noise and from early morning till late at night for those citizens on O'Brien Drive. So could you address what they're doing over there and if they've been spoken to?
Yeah, they've been spoken to today, and prior. They're doing the resurfacing, and they're redoing the compaction, hauling in gravel and stuff. And plus they're building a new salt and sand shed.
Okay.
So,
So would they need a development permit to do that then? To build that new shed, new sand shed or whatever?
we'd have to talk to administration about that.
Okay, because I think I had asked that the last time if they had a development permit for whatever it was that they were doing over there.
You can check into that.
Okay. So are they following our noise bylaw?
Yes. We talked to the supervisor there today. Obviously there are some incidences where they're outside the regular hours, but that, if they want to get the job done before winter, then something's got to be happening. So they are working with us.
Okay. So they're working with you, but I mean, I go there regularly to visit my sister-in-law, and I mean, it's constant. It's a constant start at like 6 a.m. till 10. It's like, I mean, I feel bad for those people who live the closest to that. Like, I mean, that impedes their enjoyment of their yard and whatever. I'm not sure how we can mitigate what they're doing and you know, keeping those residences from not having to deal with that at 6 a.m. Beep, 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 clunk, clunk, clunk.
It's construction. They have to get the work done. He's complying to the point where they're not working before 7 as often as they wanted to. So they're compromising, and they just. I know what you mean. I know the problem. I know the residents' issues. I know that. I just until they said there's 3 weeks left of work. They're trying to get this done before snow flies, apparently. And he's openly said this today that they'll keep it within the hours, if possible. Now, there's sometimes they're hauling equipment from God only knows where, but when they leave there, they have to be dumping here. Now, they don't want to be sitting for, I'm not sure how long it takes or where they're hauling from, but anyway, it's one of those, and I understand the residents' issues, but I don't know, whatever CL wants us to do, we can address it, but.
Alan, if we had a long-term solution, I understand there's some fencing up there, but, with a fence combined with a hedge of some sort to to help deaden the sound a little bit? Is that something they'd be open to? And a hedge, it doesn't grow overnight, well, I mean, it depends on what kind of plants you get, some of them grow pretty fast, but, you know,
Well, I'm pretty sure whatever, there's not much there that will prevent the beeping of a vehicle backing up.
no, I realize that,
And
but
that-
like, if there's something to break up the sound wave, I'm just trying to think of an aesthetically pleasing solution that, where it might not, 100% solve the problem, but if it alleviates some of it, and I understand as well, I'm empathetic, I get it.
We had done that one time before, because we had extended, I believe we had extended
The fence.
the fence. There was only small, we extended it hoping that would mitigate some of it, but unfortunately it really hasn't, and it's just what's the word for it? It's just it's the wrong place for that type of thing to be, period.
Go ahead, Vernon.
Okay, Alan, I just want to check, the noise bylaw,
Mhm.
that requires them to restrict this activity between 7 and is it 10 or 11 o'clock?
10.
10 o'clock. So between those hours, we're sort of helpless there. I know I'll have to get in touch with them now, we're finding out that there's actual building going up, there's building going up, I'll contact them on development permit, at the same time I can talk to them about adding something to that fence, as maybe mentioned here, shrubbery. We did put something up, well, that's a bit more time. But that's the best we can do right now, as long as they're complying with that. The equipment they have, I know for a fact they cannot disable those alarms, that's a safe backing thing. And when you get to winter time, if they have to hit the road at 3 in the morning because of snowstorm, there's gonna be noise. There's nothing that can be done about that. But, hopefully they do is try to restrict themselves between that 7 and 10 o'clock, they can. But there's no guarantee, again, somebody's strictly stuff down to them.
Councillor Martins.
Alan, am I hearing you correctly? Are you saying that this is only another 3 more weeks?
That's what the supervisor said.
Right, the summer.
And hopefully we don't have snow in 3 weeks. That would be a little bit early.
Sorry, Councillor Tanaka, I know you're there often visiting. Have you canvassed or talked to the residents there? Do they have a solution that's creative?
Not really, other than moving that somewhere else. But, I mean, Tammy's right there, she lives right across from them.
70 feet.
I've talked to her about this constantly. This is we've been dealing with this for all of my terms of council, and it's never improved. It's gotten worse, and there's just no solution that seems to be found to be able to let them do what they need to do, but also not impede those residents from enjoying, you know, their yard and their early morning sleeps.
Our quality of life.
Yeah,
There
and-
isn't any on O'Brien Drive. But I do want to thank Mr. Bloom and Erica for coming this morning and removing, well, they got there about 2 minutes too late, but I've got gravel trucks parked in front of my house at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Councillor Dunn?
I don't know the science behind sound walls, so if we set up a sound wall on the side of the neighborhood, would that help?
Where they're digging right now, sorry, Mr. Bloom, for interrupting. Where they are digging, it looked like a basement. They filled it, trucks came in, hauled dirt out, trucks came in, put gravel in. Then they decided to dig it again. Trucks were going out, stuff was coming in. That whole side of the fence is wide open. Those great big sand things or whatever they are, the domes, they're amplified theaters. I don't know, I can hear my neighbor walk from the other end every step she makes because they amplify the noise. So bring a coffee, come sit on my deck and see what I've been living through for over a month now, and it's gonna take the rest of my summer to get that done. There is no quality of life, there is laxity.
Yeah, and I know if there was a good solution, we've got a residential area right up close to an industrial area that was done years ago, and I don't know, we gotta try and balance those off, or some of those industries are fine there, they're not noisy, but that particular one is very noisy. So, go ahead.
I'm just wondering when it got rezoned, because when I bought my house, it was a light industrial area. And now I know that there was apparently an ad in the paper way back in 2009, I believe, if I'm wrong, Alan, 2005, 2009?
Yeah, Erica has that information.
Yeah, she looked it up. But we weren't mailed letters. Nobody on O'Brien Drive was mailed a letter saying this is what's going to happen in your area. We got one for the farm when they put in a skeet chute, but we live right across from this. We never got a letter saying this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I can't speak for, that was a long time ago from
Yeah,
this
and I'm
council
living
and
with
how
it
it
now,
was done.
and have been for a long time.
Yeah, so we need to try and find the solution, so if we've got, anybody's got good creative solutions on how we can do it and work with it.
They own a place out by the MD office. Is there a reason they can't be there?
I don't know the answer to that, but, all right, we gotta get it back on, was there any other questions for Mr. Bloom? Go ahead, Councillor Yashishin.
No, I just wanted to make just a comment that, yeah, I too had gone over there and had a look to see what was there in regards to like sound barriers and things like that. And, I know just through my work, like a lot of times the earthen barriers are sometimes better than a fence or a building of some kind, because it can echo so easily that way. Yeah, it's a difficult spot in there because of that, because, like you're saying, they have to come and go, so, yeah, there still may be something out there that I'm thinking that could go on the fence itself that may do that, and I know like some of the industries, not in this particular situation, that they have used options before, so I guess something just to still be looking into it, and look into it a little closer, maybe possibly too, and see if a solution can be found. Yeah, the activity is number one there, that with that close interface to the residential, it's just, yeah, ideally it would be better if it was definitely a ways out of town.
There's, like, you mentioned planting trees. Might be an idea from the end of the fence west to the end of the property. It should help, I don't know.
Sure, we can, go ahead.
And just to add to that, with the level of the noise that comes off of those alarms or the beepers or safe backing, whatever you want to call those, it's going to be hard to get anything in there to completely muffle it, or even to bring it down to something manageable. It's like the train that comes across town, and I'm 2 blocks up from that, and I hear that every 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Trains are constant.
And it's something you learn. I don't take this the wrong way. You learn to sort of almost live with it or ignore it. I remember when I first moved out of the town here, moved out into Eagleshamp, where there's no trains, there's nothing comes through there in the evening, just to listen to the quiet. It's so relaxing. Coming back into town here and listening to that, the noise that comes off of the highway, especially now the trees have been removed from there, that site. The trucks that park there, and in the morning they hire up logging trucks. it's unfortunate, we've got a lot of industry in this town that takes advantage of the space for parking and whatever else, and those things also, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, the logging trucks start pulling up. They haven't been doing that much lately, that's a good thing. But,
Trains come and go.
some of those noises, it's hard to stop. Those trucks are one thing, trains another one, and unfortunately, it's in High Prairie. Yeah, we are looking into the whole idea. We went back and tried to get some of the history there for when the development permit was first issued, based on when you were here the other day talking to us. So we'll try and dig some more, but again, there's not a lot. You can't go back and change what was done in the past. That was permitted, it was approved by the Municipal Planning Commission and Development Officer at the time. And, the zoning from the light industrial, we couldn't find that, but we did find where it was industrial at the time, I believe, and at that time, the permitted use, they did have a permitted use for it, and so they signed off the development on that. There weren't a lot of restrictions put in it. I just signed off on the development permit this week for the Dairy Queen. And one of the things we did add in there was, because there's a residential area right in behind where the Dairy Queen will be, we did put a requirement there for them to build a fence, preferably some shrubbery or whatever, just to try and keep some of the noise from that gas station away from, or from the restaurant as well, away from the people that will be living behind it. But, we can only do as much as we can now, we can't go back. But we could try and talk to the developer, the owners down there. Alan's done that,
Yes, yeah,
and we'll follow up on that as well. Because wasn't aware there's actually structures being built, so.
yeah, well, but
So yeah,
They
let's see if
don't
we
have a
can
permit.
find a solution for it the best we can, and it's not a great situation, but any suggestions, bring them forward and let administration look into them and go from there. All right, the only thing I wanted to say, Alan, was, good job on following up with the unsightly properties, over 100 notices given out, and kudos to our residents. You're saying there was a great level of compliance, almost 100%, so that's fantastic. That's great to see. So, and it's a big change from what we had done in the past, so getting people on board, that's wonderful, and keeping on it. So good job with that. Okay, nothing else. We had the motion to receive his report for information. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to 5.1, our minutes from July 12th. Get a motion, Councillor Dunn?
The council approved the minutes from the July 12th, 2022 regular meeting of council as presented.
All right, any changes or alterations needed? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And moving on then to our July 26th meeting minutes. Oh no, sorry, that's not July 20th. Yeah,
But that's tonight's.
yeah, okay, can I get a motion on that one? I only see the one, and yet it's showing two.
Today is July 26th, we don't have minutes yet.
Whoops.
Okay, thank you, yeah.
The minutes should have read July 12th,
Yes,
2027.
but then we have this regular meeting
The RFD is there, and then you
Minutes.
also got the minutes.
for July
The RFD?
26th. Yeah,
And then the minutes are attached there also.
but not the minutes for July 26th.
No, July
Oh,
12th.
we're writing them right
Yeah,
now.
it was an error in there that,
Kathy said, but she's not that good.
yeah. Gotcha. Okay, moving on then to item 6.1, the Alberta Municipalities Convention and Trade Show. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Dunn?
The council discussed participation in the 2022 Alberta Municipalities Convention and Trade Show and provide administration with the list of council participants and details regarding their approved travel arrangements.
Okay, thank you for that. And we have a list of all of the expenses that go into the trip to AUMA, costs associated. In the past, any councillor that was able to was, I guess, permitted to go. But we'll throw it open to council, see if there's any thoughts on, Councilor Wickle?
Well, I think anybody who can go should go. I will tell administration now, though, that I will not be attending the Alberta Municipalities Convention this year. I have prior commitments on the 23rd.
Okay. So is there anybody else that's not able to make it?
I'm not able to make it.
Councillor Tanaka's not able to make it. So it looks like there might be, oh, Councillor Martins.
You two have a milestone birthday?
Pardon me?
You two have a milestone birthday?
Oh, my milestone birthday's passed.
Okay. So we've got two, we're not sure about Councillor Stenhouse, so it would, are the others are able to go?
I'm wondering though if we need to send like everybody else, because I would be willing to sit out just knowing that other people can go and get the information and bring it back. Just because we are in a situation where we are trying to save money. So I do agree it's something that's important that others attend, but I think just in terms of trying to meet some of the requests of our budgetary expenses and stuff like that, maybe it's best to get 3 people going.
Okay.
I don't know if 3 people can cover everything though, John. That's just it. Like there's a lot to take in those 2.5 days. There's the different sessions that are there, there's the trade show. I didn't even walk the whole trade show floor this past one because, you know, between what the sessions that I was sitting in on and networking with other people, the meetings that we had with ministers and stuff, I think it's important that, well, I can't go and Donna can't go, but I think it's important that the rest of you go. My suggestion would be that administration plan for 5 people going, since we know that 2 of us aren't. And then there is time to cancel, right? Like I think you've got until like a week before.
The early bird deadline is, I believe,
It's August 10th to book it, so, yeah, but let's book the 5 for the early bird, and then if it comes up that somebody can't make it, something comes up, then that can be canceled up to, I think, a week prior to, with no penalty. That would be my suggestion, because there's too much for 3 people to cover everything.
Yeah.
I'll get Herman Mills, and then you can finish.
Okay. I also want to make mention that with the people who'd like to get travel count, so travel count, there's 5 people going, and normally, depending on who's here at the time, the CAO also attends, because that way he's able to provide advice to the people that are there. And usually, I can't speak for what this council does, but in other places I've been at, it's actually in the CAO's contract that he will attend the annual conventions. So I would say then that's case 6.
6, sorry.
Again, depending what happens, maybe cancellation there. But, and this meeting is Edmonton next year, or Calgary, pardon me, next year we'll be back in Edmonton. And the last thing that council should remember or be aware of, this is an election for the UCP leadership. So the one session that's always the nicest at both the Alberta municipalities and RMA is what we call the bear pit session, where you get the ministers all up there and you get the open floor for ask all the questions you want, and they'll give you all the answers. It won't happen, I'm sure, at this meeting, because they won't have had the election yet for the new leader. And
Isn't it
based on,
or they will have just been elected?
no, it's not October, I think it's the actual election, is it? Very good, very part of October.
It's October?
Just after, yeah. But Yeah, based on past conventions I've been at, usually something like that will get the mug order out for the ministers, so we'll get to that. You can meet with Rita in the back of the room there, she'll take your questions and we'll get back to you. There's not answers provided right to you there, it's unfortunate. And a lot of the sessions you'll have with ministers, it's unfortunately the same thing. But if we can get the names of the people, that's fine. The hotel costs, it's already been confirmed, because they did book the hotel rooms. They are about 7 blocks away. I'll warn you on that. So it's a bit of a hoof, it's not as long as it doesn't rain. Parking, the hotel does not have parking. The closest parking availability is City of Calgary parking, it's about 3 blocks away. It's unfortunate, I didn't book the hotels, it's one of the things I usually check for. It's a concern safety-wise for the councillors or for even the CAO. If you're 3 blocks away and into the parking lot and getting there in the evening, which probably would be coming from here, there's usually a concern, so you want to, I've been asked sometimes to go with the councillor so we can park his car, escort back, not that I'm any good at that anymore, but.
You look good.
Okay, Councillor Dunn, you have another thing to add?
Just a thought, because I guess last meeting we turned away somebody asking for some money to help with, and you know, wasn't a lot of money. I'm looking at the cost of this and going, if one person didn't go, we could have given them money, right? It's that kind of thing that I think for me is, I see the importance in those. I mean, I experienced that last year attending the Women's Valley's conference, but going that far and cost involved and stuff for me, I struggle with that when we say no to organizations that are looking for $1,000, and you know, so that's just my thought. That's where I'm at. I think will withdraw my name from going as well, just because of that feeling, but also because my work is, I've been taking time off of work to try to address things with council, and we've gone through a lot in the last couple of months. So I really need to focus some time on getting my stuff caught up in work as well.
Okay. So we've got 3 that will not be attending.
3 not attending and 1 that we'll have to confer back with the Councillor Stenhouse will be attending. So that would be potentially for 4 plus the CAO. So would then the idea be that no more than 2 vehicles be authorized to use? And then it's up to the travelers to decide who travels with who, because sometimes, depending on personal habits or how often you need to stop for whatever habit you do have, or just sometimes some people aren't comfortable driving with others because
Yeah,
they drive too slow, they drive too fast.
we can work on those travel
Yeah.
arrangements later, but yeah.
So
Go from there.
the 3 that I've got here is Councillor Martin's decision. Did I get that right? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, and yourself, Georgia? And then I'll check with Councillor Stenhouse whether she would be in attendance.
Yeah.
And that way we make bookings for it. I'll book a spot for CAO. And then if somebody has to back out at the last minute, once I get the confirmations and make the bookings, I'll let everybody know what the last moment cancellation is for both the hotels and or the,
EAA rest.
the rest, yeah, $600.
Perfect. That's a good
As
plan.
well, we always invite, as the
Yes.
county did, invited one of us to go to their RMA. We reciprocate as well and invite them to join us at the AMA, so, or the AMA.
We're municipalities.
Yeah, the AMC or whatever they call themselves now.
So that invitation to their council, but they travel at their expense?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you wish, or do you
Well,
want
we-
to talk to the reading over there?
Usually you just, send them a letter saying.
Okay.
Yeah. And traditionally, they just said to, yeah, they just say one from their council was invited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jordan.
Okay. All right, any other discussions on this? All right, seeing Seeing none, we just had the discussion. We had the motion to have a discussion, we've had that discussion.
We vote on it.
Yeah. All in favor? Carried. Moving on
So
then.
should there be a motion stating what the end result is?
It would be a good idea to name the names, so.
Okay.
Okay, you
Well,
want,
we don't have to get, we just say authorize, what do we got, 4 plus you? and
Maximum of 4 councillors and the CAO.
CAO and 1 invitation to the MD.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, county.
okay, we have a motion from Councillor Waco. All in favor? Carried. Moving on then to staff, or CAO's report. Get a motion on this? Councillor Martins?
The council received the interim CEO Herman Mundelein report and action list for information.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Not speaking to those items, I'm not gonna try and read everything, but as I mentioned there, Mike Bentley and I met with Mark Blair. He's the one that's the developer down in the southeast corner. What's that? Tim Hortons, but then also
The rest of it.
the rest of it. And so he came and talked to us about the ditch that's alongside of Tim Hortons. That ditch is actually a town ditch. When they first started the development there, the town went in there and they stripped it all out. And so what he's asking for now is to do some vegetation control again. So what they'd like to do is Tim Hortons would cover the cost of putting in a culvert along the whole length, basically along the side of their building, and putting dirt over top of that so they can continue the flow under there unhindered. And they would pay for that, so all they're looking for us was to do the vegetation. So we said, yes, we'll do that, it's an operational thing, we've got the availability to do it. So it's an important thing. The next month, that same day, I followed to the presentations over here at the museum. While there, I'll mention later in my report, but I did, I was approached by one of the attendees there, mention of the flags, and that is a real sticky point for me. I'm always, being ex-military, flags, it's one of the things that's on my usual checklist, and I've been a couple weeks getting to that, but you'll notice now the flags here in front of the town office, the flag in front of the museum, and the 5 flags down at the campground have all been replaced with new flags, so everything looks nice and spiffy for the upcoming rodeo. So people coming through there, because I think the Canadian flag here, I think was almost ripped in 3 pieces. It was really sad. It's actually, I think it's illegal to display a flag in that condition. At least that's what Sergeant Major might tell me. So, going on from there, joint rec council meeting. There's a lot of discussion there about some things coming up. One of the items that was discussed was the recreation master plan that's been worked on by MSA and Comet. He made a presentation to us there. He took some information back, and he will be bringing it back in August we do have a joint recreation master plan committee. They will then take a final look to see what the plan looks like. And then once everything's good with that, then we'll take it out and have a public meeting and make the presentation there so we'll be aware. Item related to the replacement of the ice surface floor buckboards. That was brought forward when we had that meeting today, the joint recreation, so that's been basically looked after. Received a call from Carmela McKay. She's a regional manager with Rupert's Land Institute. She had been over here before I started, and the ladies here had taken her for a tour. We had 2 still unoccupied office spaces over here next door to us, and they wanted to rent them out from us. So they were renting both spaces at $709.80 a month in rent, and we started to collect for that. So that would be the last 2 spaces over there, but leased out.
Excellent.
Full occupancy. The other item right there is Kim McGinn, program officer of the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, so we've been accepted to participate in the new stream. That's basically, they work with businesses, and then those businesses would present themselves to the town, and we would, recommend them onwards. So that we have been chosen. Municipal Planning Commission, so as I mentioned earlier, we met. One thing that happened there is we had 3 members at large on the Municipal Planning Commission. I was one of those. As a sitting member of the Development Authority now, I can no longer sit in the NPC. And then there was one other member that was a member at large. That person had missed 2 meetings previously. When we contacted, we were told that she wasn't able to attend because of, she's a mother, she had babysitting arrangements, so we set this meeting up for the evening. Again, she was unable to attend. The rules on that is if you miss 3 meetings, you're out, 3 strikes, you're gone. So basically, we've gone out and we're putting advertising out for, looking for members at large for the Municipal Planning Commission. Once we get those in, we'll go through them and bring them to council for appointment. Hopefully we get 2. 1 would be nice, because it does make it hard to have the meeting when you've only got 1 member at large. He could have a potential conflict, and it was potentially there with the last meeting. It worked out well because we sat as a Municipal Planning Commission. We did go over things, but we were unable to make a decision because we did have a quorum. As it turns out, there was a bylaw that was amended in the spring where the development officer was given the authority to approve discretionary uses on a thing. So Kemet was here, he explained everything that was in there, what he was recommending that we had for conditions for the, and so I listened to everything there. The 3 portions of the project down there, one was the restaurant, one was the gas station, and the third part being the convenience store. The gas station and the restaurant were permitted uses in that area. The retail space was a discretionary, so we talked it all over, and based on the input that I had from Kemet's recommendation, I signed off the development permit today, and that approved that, and they were providing it to the developer with a list, and he's chomping at the bit to get going. So, just for the information of everybody here, those gas tanks that are there, they'll be below ground. Surprised me too, but he has permission. I guess the new tanks now, they meet all the standards, even though it's next to a waterway, it meets the provincial standards. So, I'll leave it at that. It's the province is saying.
If the province says.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I know the tanks are a lot better than what they used to be, because the ones before I've seen them come out of the ground and they're single
It's just a
wall.
farm tank.
Oh, surprised they held gasoline at all. So these new ones are, I won't say bulletproof, but they're a lot better quality. Okay, this is the last thing I mentioned, the flags earlier. So, I think I had anything else I wanted to add to that. A lot of there's been meetings, a lot of things in here that we'll be talking about later, or you will be talking about. I'll mention that later on. But if there's any other questions for our report,
Okay,
you have them now.
questions?
Do we have a motion to receive it?
The motion was made.
Yep.
Okay. Good job.
Councilor Martins, yeah. Councilor?
Go ahead. Thank you for your report, Mr. Mandeline. 2 things. One, the citizens presentation, citizens of the year presentation. Did I miss that, or did?
What's that?
It was your second bullet. I think you and Mr. Mayor made the presentation.
I went over a couple of them over there.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's not a question, it's just that I missed that. It would have been nice for council to have known. I missed it if we were notified. I don't know. It would be nice for the citizens to know, right? I mean, just so that it's a
I think
citizen.
that was at the last meeting that was discussed, was it not?
No,
I don't remember.
no, I
Not
didn't
at,
know
not
about
at
it.
8, I was a little surprised today.
No.
Usually it's done at the rodeo.
Yeah,
Well, we tried to find a date when people were available, and you were, yeah, we asked her to find a date, and I gave dates that I
And
was.
with the rodeo parade not being downtown here, because a lot of times I think the rodeo was done in conjunction with that, because there's people here to see it. This year, there's nobody going to be there for the parade, now it's starting at the hospital.
Could have sent an email out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just regardless,
Yeah.
it's such a community event that for council not to know or be present, or even citizens to know, you know, it would have been nice to have fanfare there, so that was a comment.
Okay.
But did I miss
Point
it?
taken.
What was my other thing? Last, your last report, the June 12th meeting, you said you had begun to meet with councillors. How many have you met with so far?
None officially.
Oh,
So,
gosh.
as I said, every once they come and see me.
Okay.
And I've talked to some of these on individual matters, but I'm not going up and looking for people to come see me. If you want to come see me, doors open.
I must have misread.
Yeah.
I thought it said that you were meeting with, or you'd met with someone, council, and I thought it was just. in the-
Again, yeah, nothing of that was official.
Okay, any other, Councillor Danaka?
I know we had discussed this prior to, Herman coming on and whatever. Have we decided what we're doing with the staff appreciation barbecue?
I don't think we have decided.
Okay, are we going to do something in regards to that, or what are we like?
Well, I think that we should. I thought that was it's a good idea, it's something that we can certainly do. Is there, do you have a prospective date that you're thinking of when we can do it? I know it's tough because right now lots of staff are on vacation. Maybe we do it for early September.
Okay, well, maybe let's look at that, but let's not drop it. Let's somehow try and keep it in our heads to discuss that in September.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best way with that is whatever time is best for the staff. We're secondary to this. I mean, it's nice if we're there.
No, we have to be there because we're cooking the hamburgers and serving them. It's not nice to be there, we have to be there. Otherwise, they get no food. They show up and there's nothing there.
But I think we have to work around them in this case, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, tomorrow morning, now on Wednesday mornings following the council meetings, I've got a director's meeting or manager's meeting, whatever you want to call it. We just call it directors, but the meeting tomorrow morning with the directors, so we'll bring that up tomorrow morning and then they go back to each of the staffs and poll them to see who's available and who wants to come, who cannot come, and what's better dates than others. Because they're not going to be able to fit everybody in there, there's no doubt about that. I'm not sure if August is a better time than September, because when September comes along, there's other projects that start taking effect. And
Sure.
Whatever date works.
yeah.
Okay, anything else? The one that I had, and a citizen came up and they were talking about the garbage can right up at the front, just to the left there of the pillar, right by the side.
Okay.
It's sitting at an awful angle and it looks like it's been broken off at the bottom and a little bit at the top. And saying, why, can we get that replaced with a new one and make sure that it's sitting level?
Yep.
And
We can do
I
that.
agree, I looked
I'll
at
get
it.
the mic tomorrow, we'll have to.
Sure, yeah, I saw that one, and I went, oh, you're right, after they mentioned it, I looked, and it is sitting a little funny, and you can tell the bottom's a little broke. Anything else? Seeing none, we have a motion to receive for information, all in favor? Carried. Moving on then to the High Prairie and District Museum stats. Can I get a motion on this one?
I'll move that we.
Councillor Shishin.
Sorry.
That council received the High Prairie and District Museum report for information.
Thank you. All right, so, any questions, comments on that?
This was in response to Councillor Stenhouse's and I believe Councillor Martin's question about the last number of years, what has the museum put on and the attendance of each of those. So hopefully that answers the questions that they had.
I want to make sure Darlene knows that, thank you for that, and good job on everything, and nice to see things happening now that Darth COVID appears to be on the decline.
Okay, seeing no other questions, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to our reports. Councillor Tanaka.
I can't remember what I had for hang on. Oh lordy, how embarrassing. No report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunn.
No report as well.
Councillor Martins.
So now I'll tell you, Mr. Mayor. So today, well, actually, there's 22 regional meetings that the Minister of Health, Minister Coping, has been putting on. Today was 7th of the 22 in Slave Lake. Clearly was attended by Ministry, AHS, so Dr. Muir and Stacey Green were there in attendance, and then various municipalities around us. I happened to sit at the table with Slave Lake, the MD of Lesser Slave River, and who was the other one? And myself, Town of Pipeberry. And we had roundtables. There were 4 questions that were asked. Minister Copping went through Budget 2022 and talked about $64 million being added to the EMS budget. He talked about 60 million for mental health and addictions services. Continuing care was another one of the things he highlighted. Capital funding for IT, their IT as well as buildings. So he went over some of that. Dr. Muir went over a 10-point health plan that included the Alberta Surgical Initiative, the EMS 10-point plan, mental health and substance use recovery, public health and pandemic reporting, digital evolution and innovation. So there were 10 different things that he went through. Then we broke out into roundtables, and the 4 things that we discussed were what are some of what's going well with healthcare, what some of the challenges are, what is currently being done about, or what we think should be done to address those challenges, and what can we specifically, either me or the Town of Pipeberry, the organization we belong to, do to improve healthcare in our community. They will aggregate some of this and put it together. I actually did the presentation for our table. There were tons of things as far as challenges. We all have discussed them. The one thing that came out of this is that I spoke to Dr. Muir after the fact, again, about the thing that we've belabored now for the last few months, and that was with Dr. Laughlin's clinic and some of the challenges there and being given hospital privileges. So he's agreed to a one-on-one in-person meeting. He'll come here from Grand Prairie to the council to have a meeting whenever it's good for us. So there's a woman named Shelley that I can coordinate with to pick a date. And he'll meet with us to hear both sides of the story. We just, Zoom, he says, doesn't always work. It was an unhappy last Zoom meeting, so he's agreed to meet with us in person, which I thought was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So we get to pick the date, and he gets to come from Grand Prairie and meet with us for a few hours over lunch or whatever time.
Okay.
Who was that? That was from Grand Prairie,
Dr. Muir.
He's the North Zone
Yeah.
Director for AHS.
Yeah, he looks after the doctors in the region.
He was extremely gracious. He was willing to, he said that there's 2 sides to the story. So this way, it's not a Zoom meeting. All of us can be present. It's in person, so we can look at it one-on-one. I think those are far more effective. And
Would it be best to do it as a scheduled delegation or as a separate meeting?
So we talked about that, and with the scheduled delegation, he only gets 20 minutes, whereas if he comes in, let's say he leaves Grand Prairie at 10, that's here at noon, we sit for a couple of hours, there's no finite time. We did talk about that because I threw in August 9th, he's available for the month of August. But we thought it best maybe a different day, so that we're not relegated to 20 minutes, but it's up to council.
Okay,
And with that, I will move my report. I mean, if someone wants details, I have way more, but, I will move my report, for information.
okay, no, that's good. Councillor, go ahead.
Forgot my name?
Yep.
Just a question, we talk about our doctors, and needing more doctors, because we do, clearly. I hope we're not forgetting that we need nurses and support staff as well. Was that addressed as well?
100%. In fact, that was exactly verbatim as it was said. We talk about physicians, but what about nurses, LPNs, nurse practitioners? One of the things that came out of this session was Minister Coping was a proponent of opening immigration lines. If we can bring physicians, why can't we bring nurses and so forth? So retention, recruitment, not only for physicians, but healthcare staff across the gamut. One of the things I wanted to point out is, last meeting we talked about the bursary that we have. I don't know if we knew, I didn't know, I found out today that there's a Northern Alberta NADC, do you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're leveraging that, but I had cited to our group and to the group at large that we initially, and they liked that idea that, the town has its own bursary. One of the other things, and I wish I had said this while Alan was still here, but oftentimes protective services will escort a prisoner who needs health care to our clinic. This week alone, I got a report of 7 hours, not 1, not 2, not 3 hours, and we could one of the things I said to the group today is that we'd rather use our staff, boots on the ground, as opposed to sitting in a waiting room. There were no emergencies, it was just prioritization. So something that they could look at as a challenge is when to prioritize either sheriffs or RCP or protective services going in, because that 7 hours is in my mind unacceptable for someone to sit there babysitting. So there was no reason why they couldn't prioritize and triage that faster.
Okay, meeting time, can we pick a date to meet with
We have a motion first, we should deal with that first.
Deal with the motions, accept your report, and then make a motion after that for the date of the meeting.
Well, we have the motion, but that allows us to have discussions, but if we can have a discussion around the meeting date, because we start with a motion, and it'll be tough if we don't have a discussion first to say we're gonna pick this date. So if we can pick a date, and then at the end, we can add another motion, yeah.
Any date's fine with me, I'm flexible.
So, on a date other than, so I'm thinking, I don't know, now is he available just in the day or in the evening, or?
He actually would prefer not to do the evening. He's recovering from something and he's, just for
During
long.
the day?
Right, so if he left at 10, get here at noon, that kind of thing,
Okay. That makes it much tougher for most of council because of working.
Why not, how about just do it right away, do it on the 4th? That's a Thursday?
We could do, I won't be here on the 4th, but that's okay. I mean,
Well,
it doesn't have to
you
be.
should probably be here.
So what day are you here? Let's pick your schedule.
Yeah, I'm back on the 12th, and then, so anytime after the 12th could work.
Like, you pull in on the 12th or in the evening of the 12th? So like you think of the 15th kind of thing?
Yeah, we could do 15th. Yeah, 15th, 17th would work.
Just a thought, I would stay away from Wednesdays, in case we want to invite our friends at the county over. I think that, and I think that would, oh, no, that wouldn't be their meeting day. Whatever,
Yeah.
yeah, because their meeting is on the 10th and 24th, so, yeah, the 17th would work.
Does it work for others? That's the Canadian Horseshoe Championships are here that week. 17th?
At what time? Noon till 2?
Yeah, do we want to meet at noon? Bring in lunch and eat and talk?
That works for me.
Okay, we can do that. So the 17th, starting at noon.
Do we have a preference for lunch, or do we want to just go with the standard Subway? Sorry.
We'll talk,
Huh?
we'll talk there.
Yeah, you gotta work that out.
All right. Find out if he's getting any allergies.
Okay, so we've got a date people can live with, most people, 17th at noon. All right, so we had a motion to receive the report for information, all in favor? Carried. I'll make the motion that we set up a meeting with Dr. Muir for August 17th, starting at noon here in council chambers. All in favor? Carried. All right.
Do we want to invite Bree from council or a representative from?
Yeah, we can invite them.
Okay, I'll set that up with the station.
Friendly amendment,
Hmm?
friendly amendment after the final.
If you're willing to accept that, or
I'm going to accept it.
there's no objections?
No objections, yeah.
All right.
All right, so on to my report. You mentioned the rec committee meeting. There, we did review the rec master plan. We talked about the recreation budget a little bit, and that's looking good. In that there looks to be, at this point in time, that they're hoping that there'll be a surplus, and they're forecasting. And again, this is 6 months in, so it's only halfway through the year, but they're hoping that it'll be around 100,000 is what she was predicting. They talked about they did the Sports Palace floor and getting that all settled out. Need to get moving on the sand filter for the swimming pool. They've got to order that. And then they're looking at some different type of material. Instead of filling that sand filter with sand, filling it with a new technology, a special type of glass beads. And that's supposed to last longer, not wear out, and you can re-clean them and use them. So they were gonna come back with an RFD for that. And
I'll touch on that in my report.
yeah, what's that?
I'll touch on that in my report.
Oh, okay. And they also got a donation from Canadian Tire out of Grand Prairie to help with some equipment for the Gordon Buchanan pad, so that they can play some sports and do some other things on that, so that was wonderful. Also had a meeting with Heart River Housing and the Pleasant View Lodge. Again, it's moving along. There's so many things happening right now, but the flooring is basically done. The cabinets were supposed to be arriving yesterday, and I saw a big van out there, so I think the cabinets probably arrived. They're still hoping to be done, and turning it over to Heart River Housing through August 24th, but there is a lot to do there, and we'll see if it happens before the first of the month, but they're working feverishly trying to get everything done. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. I'll move my report for information, and And if anybody has any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Councillor Wakel.
See, now we can go, Judy's not here tonight, so we just go
Yeah.
around the table. Okay, so, as Herman had mentioned, we had an NBC meeting, sort of, didn't have quorum, but it was the Dairy Queen that came. They have their plans up. They're looking at spring, I believe. They want to be serving blizzards. We tend to get blizzards in spring, so we'll see how that goes. We talked about screening the back for sound and aesthetic reasons, and upgrading the, is that 54th, I think, behind the
Yeah.
Honda shop, yeah, okay.
Time to-
Putting a bit of an overlay on that, it needs to be done anyways, but it's, there's gonna be some more traffic on there, so we're looking at that. I think, did they get all of their okays from transportation? I think-
Yeah, as far as we know.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's one of the conditions of the
Of the
approval,
approval.
that they have to have that in
Yeah.
place. So they can't go ahead with anything until they've got.
yeah, but I think they had that already, didn't they? Yeah,
Sounds
so,
like that.
yeah, so it sounds like transportation is all good with it, so this is exciting. And the other meeting there, Rec has met a couple times, we met earlier today, spoke about the replacing of the pad, and that's gonna be coming to our next council meeting. The number we're looking at is approximately 1.3 million. And that's hopefully everything. There could be some savings in there. There are some areas where, like, if they can reuse the glass, that'll save us about $10,000. If we help out with, have our trucks there to haul crap away, then that's a few $1,000s as well. So that's something that it's coming to our next meeting, and that would be work that is done next year. The other thing with the filters at the pool, which need to be replaced, and this new technology that's coming forward with the glass beads on there, it's far easier on the system. There's not as much backwashing into the system, so the filters last longer. The system basically it doesn't break as often. It's a little bit more. We'd asked, as the rec board and as council, we had asked for it, and council had approved with the county, I think about $100,000 to replace the sand filters. If we go to 122 total, so an extra 22,000, 23,000. Okay, we can go with this new system, which will last much longer. Don't need to backwash, so your filters aren't cracking. Sand can't be reused, so it has to be replaced every 3 to 5 years. The glass, you can just use it forever, right? So that's the other ask that's going to be coming to both the county and the town, is an extra
It was 21,000.
21 or 22,000 total, so half of that they're going to be asking for. And yeah, it's more money up front, but in the long run, this is something that's going to save us tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in the maintenance of the pool. So that'll be at our August 9th.
Yeah, and if I can just add into that, Councilor Rickle, that the new filters would also reduce the amount of water that's being used on a
That's
regular
right.
basis there. So that's a large cost. So hopefully, even if we reduce the water by 10%, that's still a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, like, it takes a lot of water to fill the pool and the backwashing, and it's just hard on everything. So yeah, it's going to cost us a little bit more now, but I think we will recoup that cost within 3 to 5 years. We will absolutely recoup the cost, because we don't have to replace all of the sand, and that's just a huge aspect. And that is my report. I remove that for information.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Shishin.
No report this time.
All right, well, let's take a break, and when we're done, we'll come back and go into our closed session.